everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand. Happy Monday morning, and have we got a jam-packed show for you this morning? We have Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS, more cuts at Manchester United. I mean, I'm saying it in a positive Monday morning voice, but it isn't positive if Manchester United debts continue to rise, costs continue to rise, redundancies are planned to happen in a meeting today, and some really... I mean, we thought the article last week coming out from James Ducker was eye-opening. I mean, the stuff coming out this morning around more cuts around Manchester United, it's hard to even wrap your head around that a club of this size is making cuts this massive. We'll talk about that. Ruben Amorim, some crazy rumours flying around about Ruben Amorim, and potential Xavi coming in as another manager of Manchester United and him being available in the summer, and Manchester United scouting Xavi out as a manager. I mean, I would put this in the absolutely not going to happen category, but there is more people coming out. I mean, being very, very critical of Ruben Amorim. Are them criticisms warranted? What should be the judgment of Ruben Amorim? I have some strong opinions on that, and I have some things I want to go through about why Ruben Amorim needs to be given a pre-season, needs to be given a proper transfer window before we judge him at Manchester United. This squad have got away with things for far too long. Let's stop pinning the blame on the manager and look deep inside the football club. Also, Fabrizio Romano speaks on the rumours regarding Victor Osimhen and Victor Gyökeres. Do not rule them out of a move to Manchester United in the summer. It all does depend on money, but Victor Osimhen is definitely on the table for Manchester United in the summer. I mean, would he even want to come to us in the position we're in? We will get into that. Please get all your comments in down below. Any super chats you have, get them in the chat. I want to hear your voices heard. I want to see what you guys have to say, especially on the Ruben Amorim stuff. Get your Ruben Amorim opinions in down below, because that is going to be a big debate we'll get our teeth into as we get into the show. But first and foremost, let's bring in the cuts that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS are making to Manchester United. It literally is like Scrooge and Bar Humbug at this moment in time, isn't it? And yes, we do have to make cutbacks, but wow, it is getting tight and it is getting serious. So it's coming in from the Mirror. There's been a few different sources on this coming out throughout the morning, but the Mirror is saying that INEOS will announce another round of redundancies at Manchester United Monday, which is today, while Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford are keen to forget about the club's past achievements. Manchester United have been accused of trying to airbrush away the club's past as staff brace themselves for another savage round of redundancies. Employees have been summoned for a meeting that will take place at Old Trafford on Monday and are expecting to be told that up to 200 more jobs are set to be slashed from the payroll. 200 more redundancies incoming at Manchester United. And I've seen multiple people speak on this. I saw Simon Jordan speak about it on TalkSport. I think Simon Jordan is incredibly intelligent person, knows a lot about running a football club, as we've seen with his ties to Crystal Palace. But I saw him say, you know, this needs to happen. There'll be a lot of people that are working from home and, you know, have inflated salaries and aren't really producing what they should be for the amount that they've been paid, and you've got to kind of trim the fat. I get the argument, but there is I know from people that work inside Manchester United, and I know for 100% fact that there are good people that work incredibly hard losing their jobs, and I know for a fact that there is areas of that football club that are being reduced to minimal staff members and they are working extra hours. They are going above and beyond just to keep that area afloat and just to make sure things go right within that area of the football club. You know, there's different teams and there's different sections of the football club, and teams are getting reduced to the bare minimum, which means the team members that are left are being worked every single hour that God sends within a day and having limited time at home or limited free time because they're having to work extra to make up for the fact that they're probably doing three people's jobs. So yes, fat does have to be trimmed, but the redundancies are reaching a very big high, and there's people genuinely very scared for their jobs inside that football club. And it is worrying and it is sad because it feels like there's a family feel around Manchester United. And again, a lot of people will go straight in on Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS on this. They'll say, what are they doing to this football club? But this is all happening because the Glazers have made terrible financial decisions and have ran this football club into the ground and have still not reached into their own pocket to fund Manchester United. Who's paying for their sins? The average working class person and the fans who are going to have their ticket prices hiked as well. More comes in on this. And it's coming that Dave Brailsford, marginal gains, feels the achievements of the past are weighing heavily on how Manchester United go about business, and some influential people at Old Trafford feel that Sir Alex Ferguson is to blame for the club's decline for failing to embrace development in coaching and scouting. Now that is crazy. The blame shifting that goes on at this football club is mind-boggling. There's always somebody new to blame for Manchester United's failures. The thought of blaming Sir Alex Ferguson, who's delivered 13 league titles for this football club and probably covered up for the Glazers when they initially took over the football club in 2005, because Sir Alex Ferguson was such a good manager and had things in place to succeed at Manchester United through his own doings. Like, he had people in place to help him succeed, but he was such a good manager that it papered over the cracks of the Glazer ownership as soon as he came into the football club in 2005. But the thought of even blaming Sir Alex for the decline of this football club is absolutely absurd. In my opinion, from day one that the Glazers got hold of this football club, the club was going to be on the decline. So Alex Ferguson kept the club winning and winning titles after titles because of how good of a manager he was, and the fact he was able to get people in place behind the scenes to do a fantastic job. When he left, it all started to show how badly we were being run, and it just spiralled and spiralled and spiralled over years, and this is the situation we've got ourselves into. I understand, stop harping on about the past. We're not where we were. It's an absolute mountain to climb to get anywhere near where we were when Sir Alex Ferguson was at this football club, but don't blame Sir Alex Ferguson for that. He did absolute wonders for this football club, and we should look back on the past with fondness and with happiness. Yes, you look back and you think, wow, they were the glory days. I wish we could get back there. We're nowhere near it. And I think people expect Manchester United to be winning titles year in, year out. You expect them to be at the top. And they should be the expectations of a football club that is the biggest club in England and one of the biggest clubs in the world and has the history that we have. I think the point is we are not going to reach that overnight, and it's going to be a massive climb to get anywhere near back to the top. One insider claimed, coming from this article, INEOS want absolutely nothing to do with the past. They don't want to hear how things were done when United were winning 13 Premier League titles, and they won't accept any suggestions that lessons can be learned from when the club's greatest ever manager was in charge. It's all very well drawing a line under the last 12 years and saying let's move on, but it's become an obsession to not mention the period when Manchester United were one of the best ever teams in Europe. Again, we've heard this before. I've got nothing else to say on this apart from the fact that I feel like our history should be embraced, and I feel like there could probably be a lot to learn from when Manchester United were at the top of club football and world football. To completely erase that and take that out of the day-to-day runnings of the club, I don't agree with, because Manchester United have been successful in the past. We should learn from that. Of course, we need to move on, and club football has moved on, and there is a different way of doing things now, and times have changed. But that winning history should still be part of this football club and still should be part of the culture of this football club. Kill Robinson says, didn't Moyes get rid of the backroom staff? Yeah, he did, and I think that was a big mistake he made from day one. Patrick Lynch says, we've had 7 managers since Sir Alex Ferguson. We've had a decade now. How is it his fault that our coaches aren't up to scratch? That's just plain wrong. Exactly. Like, to even think about blaming Sir Alex Ferguson is just... The mind absolutely boggles. Genuinely. Like, we have been through manager after manager, coaching staff after coaching staff. We have not moved on with the times. We have not brought in sporting directors when we've needed to. We have not brought in best in class when we've needed to. We have spent millions badly. We've been ill-advised on multiple transfers. We are a laughingstock in the transfer window, in the transfer market, and we have paid stupid wages out. We've made terrible footballing decisions. Yeah, you know what? It's Sir Alex Ferguson's fault. Come on. Come on, Sir Alex Ferguson was the best manager that this world has ever seen and delivered 13 Premier League titles for this football club, and actually probably did you a favour when you first came into the football club, because the Glazers bought this club in a way that is actually illegal now, bought it on a shed loads of debt and started crippling this football club from day one. Sir Alex Ferguson kept it afloat for many years. When he left, you weren't prepared for that. You weren't prepared for what was to come. You made terrible decisions since the day he left that has put us in this situation. The only thing that should be blamed, and there's multiple things you can blame, there's multiple criticisms you can make of Manchester United, but the big blame that should be put on Manchester United for its failings over the last decade is the ownership of this football club, because that's where it stems from, and they have filtered down into the rest of the club and absolutely crippled us and strangled one of the best sporting institutions that the world has ever seen. I was going to say in football, but ever. And how you can do it should be absolutely studied. Honestly, it should be studied. But then you get on to more cuts, and we've got so much to get into today, so get your comments in. And this, I struggle to get my head around. If it is true, we don't have any confirmation if it's true. If it's not true, and I was at Manchester United, I would be putting stuff out or some sort of brief out very quickly to shut this down. It's coming from the Sun, so pinch of salt needed. Lunch at Manchester United's Carrington training ground for everyone except the first team players has been reduced to soup and sandwiches, and that includes for the coaches and analysts. Surely you're taking the mick. Like, I laughed when I read that, and it shouldn't be laughed at if it is true. But apart from the first team players, it's been reduced to soup and sandwiches. Come on. It's like when you go on a school trip, it's a school trip and you're on an absolute massive budget. And, you know, you look and the dinners and you're like, oh, you know, I should have brought a packed lunch, to be honest. You know, you're looking at that and it's like, ugh. You know, when you go on like a budget school trip and the food is just terrible and it's like, yeah, I'll bring my own. Surely not. That is absolutely disgraceful if that is true. Like, I can't say it in any other way. We're the biggest football club in England. We're the biggest football club in England, one of the biggest in the world, and you're telling me that the lunch has been reduced to just soup and sandwiches to save money? I mean, what sort of example does this set around the whole club? You want best in class from your staff. So let me get this straight. You want best in class from your staff. You want the highest standards around the whole football club, because guess what? A football club isn't just based off the first team set of players and a first team manager. It comes from everywhere. It comes from the physio department. It comes from, you know, the scouting department. It comes from the analysts. It comes from even the groundsmen, the kit men, the vibe and the feel around the place. Who's upkeeping the grounds at Carrington? You know, who's even doing the cleaning, the cleaners, the staff chef, everyone, the chef department at Manchester United. I'm trying to name different departments of the football club, but the way a football club gets to the top is through every single person at that football club pulling their weight, feeling valued, and bringing value to the club, and everything running at the highest possible level. How do you expect the best output from all of your staff if that's how they're being treated, being reduced to soup and sandwiches, and the only department that hasn't done that, hasn't been reduced to that, is the first team players? One, you're putting the first team players on a pedestal, and two, if you want everyone to deliver the best possible work, you want best in class, treat them as if they bring value to this club. Treat them with respect. Treat them as if they are important. Because to kind of just say, oh, you know, it's just the first team staff that are going to have normal lunches and you're reducing everybody else, what does that show to them? If you're being reduced to soup and sandwiches at work while other members of staff are, you know, they're coming into work and they've got, you know, nice cooked meals for them, and you're on soup and sandwiches, what does it say to how the ownership view you as a staff member? It doesn't treat you with much respect, and it doesn't show that you are much value to them. It makes you feel like insignificant, and it's not how this football club should be ran at all. Moving on as well to more stuff coming out. Ratcliffe's latest attempt to save money has seen him limit the lunch options in Carrington's canteen to just soup and sandwiches to everybody except the first team players, including denying Manchester United's under-18s the chance to play at Old Trafford in the FA Youth Cup 5th round. But instead it was played at Leigh Sports Village, saving the club a total of £8,000. Again, disgusting. Do you know how positive it is for these young players to have the experience of playing at Old Trafford? How much it does for their confidence, how much it does for their experience levels, what it does for the morale, what it does for even the under-18s manager and the staff to have that experience of playing at Old Trafford. It makes you feel important. It makes you feel like what you are doing is going towards the greater good. Remember in the FA Cup Youth final when Alejandro Garnacho, I think it scored 2 goals and we won that and the crowd was there and it was just, Kobbie Mainoo was playing. It was such an amazing day and it was such a feel-good day for the fans, for the academy, for everybody who's doing amazing work there at the academy. Nick Cox, Travis Binion, you could name so many different members of staff that are contributing to a thriving academy at Manchester United. That just keeps getting better. And to save £8,000 by not letting them play at Old Trafford, to me, it shows where your priorities lie. It's not with the youth. It can't be with the youth. If you're not willing to invest £8,000 to give the youth players some experience and that feel-good factor and the staff that value again of feeling like they're important and contributing to the greater good, your priorities are all wrong. You'd rather save £8,000 than put that towards the experience of the youth team and the under-18s. That £8,000, honestly, it's not worth saving it because what you're going to get back from the players experiencing that, the confidence they'll gain from that, and what they can take through that in their Manchester United career as they develop up the ranks, it's not worth £8,000. You might as well just let them play at Old Trafford. And for fans that want to go and buy tickets as well and go and see it, it's a better experience. I can't get my head around it. I just feel like our priorities are all wrong. It's cost cutting. But then it's like, sometimes you've got to invest a little to get more back. If you actually just invest a bit of money and you don't bring I get cost cutting, but to the absolute extreme levels, and you cost cut in the right areas, but you invest in the right areas, you will get more back. You will get more value out of your staff. You will get more from the academy. You will get more from all around the football club that is going to make you better in the future and get higher level of performances, higher levels of outputs. I mean, when you talk about marginal gains from Sir Dave Brailsford, I feel like I was excited about that at first because it's like, being better every day, making yourself 1% better every single day, all over the football club, I am there for that. We need to be better in every department. I didn't think it meant marginal gains as in £8,000 saved from not letting the youth players play at Old Trafford. Instead, they have to play at Leigh Sports Village for an important game, which could have given them a lot of experience. I didn't mean it meant saving £6,500 on staff not being able to get transport down to Wembley to watch the FA Cup final. I didn't think it meant cutting to charity. I didn't think it meant cutting from really important foundations that Manchester United have built over the years. I didn't think it meant that. I didn't think it meant as many redundancies as we've had. I understand a few because, fat does need to be trimmed, but the extent we've had it, I didn't think it meant if you wanted to take your 2 children to Old Trafford to watch a 15th place Manchester United that is losing week in, week out and playing poorly, it's going to cost you probably, near enough £180. I didn't think it meant that. Like, marginal gains in the right way. The cost cutting, I do feel like he's going too far. But this is what happens when you're in unimaginable debt. And we've got more to come on the debt and the prices of this debt is increasing, and it just does feel like Manchester United is sinking and we're trying to keep our heads above water. How are we going to survive this? Garnacho and Mainoo, we've already talked about their potential sales in the summer. That is going to come back up. Ticket prices, despite the fact we're in 15th, are going to rise. And it's worrying times for Manchester United right now, and you do struggle to feel like, how are you going to get out of this? And how are you going to get out of this without a full sale? And this is why pressure does really need to be put on the Glazers and on this ownership, because this shouldn't be the case of Manchester United to be run like this in the way that we are. It just shouldn't ever be. This is coming in from Chris Wheeler and Must as well. That new analysis of Manchester United's financial results by Must shows that debt interest payments will soar to 50 million a year in 2 years, while total transfer debt is up to 391 million, a rise of 52 million on a year ago. And this is what happens when you're in unimaginable amounts of debt. And I remember when Sir Jim Ratcliffe was buying this football club, and there was people out there saying debt can be a really good thing for a business. And in certain cases, you know, debt can be okay. It can be. But the amount of debt that Manchester United are in, you should never say that is okay. I will never be in a place where I'll say debt's a good thing. I just won't be. And yes, I've not got a business degree, and no, I'm not completely read up on the ins and outs of business like Manchester United is running on a global scale. But I know that debt isn't a great thing, and I will never be comfortable with the amount of debt that Manchester United are in. We have got rising debt payments. We are in unimaginable amounts of debt, and you struggle to see where the money's coming from. You know, cutting 8,000 here, cutting 6,500 there isn't going to make up for the mass amounts of debt we're in. I mean, we'll soar to 50 million a year in 2 years, while transfer debt is up to 391 million, with a rise of 52 million on a year ago. The amount of money that Manchester United are in debt in it's crazy. It's honestly crazy, and it's how are we making this money up? Where are we finding this money? How are we going to survive? I don't know. And that's why I would love more communication from the owners on what the plan is. We've heard about Project 2028 of winning the Premier League. How are we going to do that with the amount of debt we're under, and how bad our finances are? I don't know how we are. And it comes again from Chris Wheeler that this is coming from Must, a spokesman at Must. The Glazers' debt mounting is the original sin in the recent decline of Manchester United, and the fact that the fans are being asked to pay the price through higher ticket prices is not just wrong, but counterproductive and futile. The £66 tickets will raise less than £2 million this season, a drop in the ocean compared to the mounting cost of Glazer debt and the more than 200 million transfer debt due to be paid this year. The only way out of this is for the owners to invest their own money. And I completely agree with that statement from the spokesman of Must there. Like I'm saying, you know, the ticket prices is a drop in the ocean. The soup and sandwich regime is a drop in the ocean. It's like, you know when they say we're like a Cheerio in a mass production line of cereal packets being made each week across the country, in terms of where we're at in the world, like how that was such a bad analogy. We're like a Cheerio in terms of the whole universe is what I'm trying to say. These ticket price rises and these cuts that they're making behind the scenes, it's such a small drop in the ocean, compared to the amount of debt that we have been put under by the Glazers. And they have still not reached into their own pockets. They have still not done that. Instead, they've brought in Sir Jim to be the face of this and to bear the brunt of the criticism of the fans. You know, Sir Jim has put some investment into this club, but he's not, okay, yes, he's a billionaire and he is a very rich man that has been a very successful businessman, but he's not had success in football yet. And in terms of the investment that Manchester United need and the amount of money we need, he hasn't got it. Like, he's a billionaire, but he hasn't got the amount of money that Manchester United need to survive, in my opinion. Like, the Glazers haven't put any money in of themselves. Who's paying the price? The fans and the staff within this football club, and it's not fair. You have to reach into your own pocket. You have to start looking at the debt yourself. You bought this club on debt. The way they bought this club is you now can't do. You had to sell the club for a full sale. They didn't do it. The reason we are where we are, don't let it be misconstrued. It's because of the Glazers and the way that they have run this football club. Got some more super chats coming in. Cool Rotty says, so will they be cutting MUTV or telling them to stop showing classic games of the past? Wouldn't surprise me if that started to happen. Adam James says, Ruben at Carrington with a ham and cheese sandwich. I mean, what's your toasty of choice? What is it? Would it be ham and cheese, chicken and pesto? Pesto's quite expensive. You know, they might not venture out that far. Michael Malalo says, if fans allow INEOS to forget the past, Man U will cease to exist. The history is this club. This is the worst thing they have done, said Michael. You know, we live on our history and we get taken the mick out of by other fan bases for that. But that's the successes of our club, is the history of this club. I don't, like right now, what are we? We feel soulless. We're in 15th. We're struggling. We are. Actually, are we? No, we're just 15th. We're nearly in 16th. We'll probably finish 17th, to be honest with you. The football club is in tatters. God forbid we look at our history when we used to be successful. Sanil Dewan says the gaps in midfield occur due to playing 5 defenders. We look like playing with 10 men under this system. We didn't hire Amorim for this system. Do you know what, Sanil? Thank you for bringing in that super chat, because it reminds me to move on to the Amorim portion of this show, which I think is really important to get into. And I've talked about the cuts now. It's depressing. Again, I feel like a lot of people want to blame INEOS and Sir Jim. The real spotlight should be onto the Glazers, in my opinion. Yes, they give him a lifeline. And I don't know if they're going to be capable of turning this football club round. I'm going to be honest, right now, I don't think INEOS are capable of getting this club back to its best. I don't. I really don't. I don't see where all of these cuts are really going to make the difference. Until there's a full sale, I struggle to believe how we are going to survive the amount of debt we're in and keep our heads above water and still invest in the footballing side of things and invest in the areas that need investment for us to reach back to the top. I don't see it. I don't think the money's there, and I think a full sale is needed. But let's move on to Ruben Amorim, because this is the next part of the show I wanted to cover, and this is the bit I was excited to talk about. The cuts, I don't get excited to talk about them. It's depressing. It's sad that people are losing their job. And I don't like where this football club's going on that side of things. Amorim, that's the footballing side of things. I can get excited about it and I can talk about it. A lot of criticism on Ruben Amorim right now. And this bit of news that came out was I honestly started laughing at the screen when I saw it. And it's coming from a Spanish outlet, Relevo, and it is that Manchester United have approached Xavi Hernandez to manage the team while he was at Barcelona, but he declined. Xavi is set to return to management next season, with United still a possibility. However, current manager Ruben Amorim faces pressure due to poor results despite his contract until 2027, amid changes under INEOS ownership since 2024. So basically saying Ruben Amorim's under pressure. Xavi Hernandez could come into Manchester United in the summer, and Manchester United have been linked to him in the past, and we tried to get him out of Barcelona to come and manage Manchester United when he was there before we got Ruben Amorim in. I mean, to even think about talking about getting rid of Ruben Amorim right now and bringing in another manager boggles my mind, genuinely. Have you not watched the last 13 years in Manchester United? Have you not watched what we've done to managers that have been successful before and then come into this football club and been crippled? Have you not watched us make the same mistakes over and over and over again? And do not get me wrong, and Sanil, I'm sorry to go in on you. You've just put in a super chat, and thank you for doing so, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But when you say, you know, the gaps in midfield occur because we're playing 5 defenders, we're playing with 10 men, and we didn't hire Amorim for this system, I have to massively disagree with you. The gaps in the midfield is because a lot of these players don't actually know how to play this system and can't do their jobs properly. And we did hire Ruben Amorim to play this system. We knew exactly what we were getting ourselves into. He has a very distinct system, and he said from the start, this is the way he's playing, this is his way of football. You don't like it, lump it. Like, he's going to die on his sword, basically. And the thought of even entertaining getting a new manager in boggles my mind. Ruben Amorim, criticism can be put his way. I've had my own criticism for him. I don't think it's been all sunshine and rainbows since he came into the football club. There are things he has done where I think I don't agree with that, or I have made some criticism. You guys have watched the Fans Forum. We have been critical of Ruben Amorim. However, because I have criticised some of his decisions does not mean in any way, shape or form I think we should even talk about bringing a new manager in. Absolutely not. I back Ruben Amorim till the end. And, okay, that's a bit of a broad statement. Till the end is a little bit far. It's very extreme. What I'm trying to say is, I will refuse to judge Ruben Amorim until he has had a proper pre-season and a proper transfer window. I will refuse to. He got thrust in to an absolute shower of rubbish. And I'm saying rubbish because we're at 10:30 on a Monday morning, don't want to swear on the show. But he got thrust into an absolute, you know what I'm trying to say. He has been put into a car crash, basically. And I look at this squad and I look at the system he's trying to play and it just doesn't align. And it's not his fault that this football club hired him midway through a season and said it's now or never. And I wanted to talk about Ruben Amorim and why I don't think it's his fault and why we do need to stick by him. Because I did see a lot of discourse around Ruben Amorim this weekend and it's become more and more critical. And I understand the results are nowhere near where they should be. The results you can be critical of. We need points. The performances have been nowhere near the level that we expected. I have had some criticism myself, but I just refuse to judge him before a proper transfer window and before a proper pre-season. I've seen a lot of people say he needs to now play to the players' strengths and their capabilities. You know, we're losing too many points. The system isn't working. But why should he bend to these players? Why should he bend to this squad? He was brought in for a reason, and the majority of these players have had many chances before and have failed. They've had chances in a back four. They've had chances in a 4-2-3-1. They've had chances in a 4-3-3 and they've failed. They've not been good enough. It's not due to the system. The squad is poor. The squad is nowhere near the level that we need. And Amorim has played this system before, not just in the Portuguese League, in the Champions League, and been successful. He's beaten Arsenal. He's beaten Man City. He has had success. The majority of these players have been poor for years and haven't had success and have continually showed proof of failure. Why should Amorim bend and break his system to get some points on the board from now until the end of the season for it to be thrown back into his face? It would just, I think, in the short term, yeah, we would get points, but in the long term, it would do more harm than good. It would show these players he will back down if performances go badly. It will show these players and, you know, the rest of the world, really, that he's not 100% committed to the system. And I think he should be 100% committed to the system because that's what he wants to play in the future and that's how he feels like he's going to get success. He doesn't have the players to play it currently. And the reason he doesn't have the players to play it is because a lot of these players are nowhere near good enough technically and physically to play the way he wants to play. I mean, the fan base have cried out for a full squad overhaul for years. For years. And if we persist with Amorim and if he persists with this system, the owners will have no choice but to sell players and invest in Ruben Amorim players and invest in players that fit. And people say, well, what if we sell certain players and then, you know, we get players in that fit Amorim's system and then it doesn't work out and he gets fired and we're in a situation where we've got niche players for a niche system and what are we going to do then? It's not, you know, there's not just like a certain select few players that can play a system. It's not about the 5 at the back. It's not about the 3-5-2. It's about having technically gifted players. It's about having players that don't treat the ball like a hot potato. It's like having players that are physically fit and have that athleticism. It's about having quality footballers, to be honest with you. It's about having players that can feel comfortable playing with the ball at their feet and don't rely on a counter-attacking system. It's not just all about the nicheness of this system. I mean, you look at Sporting. Kenda was playing as a right wing-back under Ruben Amorim. He's now playing as a left winger. And he's played well in both positions. It is adaptable, the system, if you just get high-quality players. OK, there is certain areas where it is a little bit niche. The number 10s have to be able to play inside. The wingers have to be good defensively because they're going to be playing as wing-backs. You know, you've not it's not really suited to, you know, a typical 4-3-3. Wingers like a Rashford, wingers like a Garnacho, who are basically pretty much forward players and aren't really going to do the defensive work getting back. The wingers have to have that defensive capabilities about them, that athleticism. There is certain areas that are quite niche, but overall it's just about having more, just being a better footballer, having better technical ability. And I think it's super important that we acknowledge that. And then I look at Amorim's system, and I wrote this down and I tweeted about it. Fans want Amorim, who has a very specific 3-5-2 style, to work miracles with a squad that is pretty poor. Like 3 things that I have picked up that you need to be a successful player in a Ruben Amorim system. You've got to be highly technical, you've got to have great athleticism and physicality, and you've got to have good footballing intelligence. They're the main 3. Good football intelligence, be physical, be athletic, and have a high technical ability. You know, have a high technical flooring. Please, down in the comments, name 5 players in our current squad that have all 3. I'd love to know. Because I feel like even the players that a lot of you like are missing one of them. Therefore, do I think they can be successful? Without a lot of improvement, no. And that's where I lay it out. And you just look at the one signing that Ruben Amorim has made in Patrick Dorgu. He looks like our best player. And he suits the system perfectly. And he looks like our biggest spark. He looks like the best player in our team. He's from Lecce, no disrespect to them, who were just above the relegation zone in Serie A. He's 20 years old and he looks like our best player because he fits the system. He's got them 3 things. He's very good technically, like we've seen. He's got great athleticism and physicality. And he's got good football intelligence. He looks great. Allow Ruben Amorim to build over the course of the summer. Sell some players that don't fit his system, cash in on some players, get some money into the football club, invest in Ruben Amorim, and give him a full pre-season to work with his squad and maybe better some of the players we have and teach them more about the system where you've got, you know, you've not got games looming over you and there's not a mass amount of pressure over you to win the next game. Get points on the board from now until the end of the season, survive like Ruben Amorim said, put massive focus on the Europa League because we have to win it. We have to. I used to think we were. Now I'm very much doubtful because I do think Ahmad covered a lot of our cracks in terms of goal scoring. I don't see where the goals are coming from, honestly, which is why I think we'll struggle to win the Europa League. Put all your eggs in the Europa League basket. Bring some youth players through. Survive till the end of the season. Get Ruben Amorim some players in the summer. Sell some players. Get rid of some players off the books. Do a squad overhaul. And allow him to have that time and then judge him. Judge him this time next year. Judge him this time next year if he gets that good summer transfer window. Just look at the one player he has signed in Patrick Dorgu. And again, people will compare Amorim to Ten Hag. They've done it a lot. But Ten Hag's signings weren't great. And people will argue he didn't get his first choices. People will argue you're being harsh. But they weren't. They weren't great. The one signing Ruben Amorim's made is looking pretty good. And okay, yeah, we're only a couple of weeks in. You know, Anthony started off and scored three goals in 3 games. By the way, doing fantastic for Real Betis right now. Is it just the environment of this football club? Is it the Premier League? Is it the scouting network in terms of scouting players that are good enough to play? Not good enough, but have the abilities to play in the Premier League. Anthony obviously has a very specific style of play. You get a little bit more space in La Liga. That's maybe why it's working out for him there. I get, you know, some of Ten Hag's signings look good at first, and then over a couple of seasons they started to decline. It was like, oof, his signings aren't that good. But Patrick Dorgu so far, it gives me faith that when we actually go and invest in a right wing back like Kenda, we're going to look like a more serious team because Amorim knows what he's looking for, and he's 20. It's not an ageing player like Christian Eriksen or a Casemiro. He's 20. You know, he's got levels to go up. And that's what's exciting. You know, he's got longevity in him. So just give Amorim some players that are going to match the criteria of what he needs and then judge him is what I'm trying to say. I mean, get some super chats in. I want to talk a little bit about Ahmad and our goal scoring problems. Ray Carl Brown Amory says, I don't expect miracles with Amorim. They decided to write off the season with the decision the board made. They need to rebuild the squad with him and none of these and none of these keep replacing the coach. I agree, Ray. Simply Red says, Mount out more than Martial already, not hounded. I've actually spoke about Mount multiple times saying he needs to go. He needs to go. I don't know how he goes, but he needs to go. Like Pep Guardiola came out and said publicly, we need to have conversations about what players can play twice a week. If they can't, I'm going to have to have conversations with them, because you need players that can play on a regular basis. That's what you call a winning mentality. That's what you call not being Sentimentality FC, and that's what you call running a football club at the highest level. You know, John Stones has won a treble. Fantastic player. Actually, you know, done bits for City over the course of his career. Very much loved by the fan base. You can't get fit now, you're probably going to have to go. De Bruyne, one of the best players we've ever seen in the Premier League. Can he stay fit? If not, is he declining? You're going to have to go. That's what the best teams do. They don't hold on to the past like that, and they keep it moving. If you're not going to be available for us once or twice a week, at least, you're going to have to go. And Manchester United have held on to Shaw for God knows how long. And we've all been guilty of it. Can Shaw get fit? Roberto Carlos, on his day, I've said it a million times. If he could stay fit, probably one of the best left backs in the league, best left backs in Europe. We've held on to him for far too long. Mason Mount never even had a season for Manchester United. They need to go. They need to go. There's no doubts about it. We need to start getting ruthless. Andy Atherton says, hi Beth, the problem isn't the system, it's the players' IQ and the ability and the willingness to adapt. We have too many players who do not want to change. Andy, couldn't agree more. It's CJR says it's Quenda, not Kenda. I've been told many times different ways to say his name. I say it Quenda like that. You know who I'm talking about. The right wing back from Sporting Lisbon, 17-year-old wonder kid. We've got James Foster saying Amorim should not be criticised. He's had no time, and this is a huge issue with the club. Klopp rebuilt, Arteta rebuilt. Ruben Amorim needs to stick to his guns. Patrick Lynch says, if they sack Amorim, if you believe it is justified or not, it only reiterates that the ownership do not know what they are doing and have no patience for a true rebuild. It's quick fix tactics, and it's never worked in the long term. Absolutely true. You know, if you've got a plan, you should have had a plan when Amorim came in. And if the ownership had anything about him, they knew that this wasn't going to work straight away. They should have known. Amorim's system does not suit this squad in the slightest. It was get him in, you know, allow him to suss out members of this squad, allow him to do the dirty work, you know, getting rid of certain players, weaning out the players that aren't up for the fight, don't have the right attitude, seeing across the season who could potentially work in his system, who could adapt, who isn't going to be able to adapt, get to the summer, sell the players that can't or try and get rid of them, and invest in players that we need, and allow Ruben Amorim to see the problem areas of this football club, the problem areas of this team, and scout out what his priorities should be. It's going to be a long-term thing with Amorim, and the ownership should know that. So hopefully they do. And the thought of just snapping and quickly sacking him, if the ownership did have anything about him, they will have known it's going to be a massively long process, and they're not going to do that, hopefully. Cool Rotty says, so I've done that one. Thank you everyone for your super chats coming in. Wanted to bring this up as well. Also, does anyone have 5 players they can name from Man United's squad that have a very good technical ability, have high technical flooring, have great athleticism and physicality, and also have good footballing intelligence? If you can get them in, name in the comments and I'll read it out. I've been trying to think for a while. I have a couple I could name, but it's hard. And that shows the situation Ruben Amorim is in with this squad. I mean, again, like Dorgu, physical and technical floor raiser. Imagine when Manchester United or Ruben Amorim get more players of his desired profile in. It's going to take the team up levels. You've got to have patience. You've got to give him that summer. You've got to give him the pre-season. And not just give him the summer, like give him the investment into players that suit the way he wants to play moving forward and have them 3 abilities in their armour. I mean, this is another thing I wanted to bring into the show before we move on to the Osimhen news as well. Ruben Amorim said after the game against Everton, I told the players at half-time, no matter what the result, we are going to do what we did during the week, but a little more energy. I think you saw that. It wasn't different in the positions, it was different in the quality we played the game. And I tweeted at the time, and this is just going off one of the super chat that comes in, that the players, you know, don't 100% believe, and the players in general aren't good enough and they don't have the ability to adapt and the willingness to adapt to his system. That quote to me, it feels as if the players aren't 100% confident in themselves, in the system, hence, you know, the intensity being low and the body language not being where it should be. They need to believe 100% in Amorim and they need to believe 100% in the game plan and give 100% intensity from the start of games. You know, even though the past results haven't gone our way, you have to believe. It's the main starting point. You've got to believe in this system. You've got to give 100% intensity. It's like the players are starting games not fully believing in themselves in this system. So he's like, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Are you giving 100% or are you kind of stuck in the middle? The body language is off and you get cut through anyway. Amorim said, I told the players at half-time, no matter what the result, we have to do what we did. Put more energy into it. You know, give 100%. Are the players 100% invested into this system? Probably not, because they probably don't have the belief in themselves that they are good enough for the system, but you've got to give that because Amorim isn't going to change on it. And that's something I kind of noticed and I inferred from some of Amorim's quotes. The current players, I don't think, have the belief in themselves, and that's the first start in playing a good game is believing from minute one. You've got Ian Tracy saying the players are not the issue. The players are the issue, not the system. Brian Clough said that players lose you games much more than tactics. The squad in general is not good enough. Kind of pulling off what I just said there as well. Got some people getting in players they think might have all three of the attributes I said that were needed. You have Rob Royston saying Kobe, Dorgu, Ugarte, Garnacho, Mazraoui, and Casemiro. Don't agree with any of them apart from Dorgu and Mazraoui and Ugarte, maybe. As much as I love Kobe Mainoo, I think technically fantastic. I think football intelligence, brilliant. Does he have the physicality and athleticism in an Amorim system? That's yet to be discovered, I think. However, I absolutely would stick with Kobe because I think he has the ability at 19, is he 20 yet? Is he still 19? To progress, absolutely progress. And I think he is a fantastic footballer. And I think there is certain players that don't have all three quite yet, but can build towards that. Kobe is one of them. Garnacho, again, I don't think he has the technical ability that is needed. I think he's a player that thrives when he has a lot of space, but he's not very press resistant. I think he also, you know, maybe does lack in terms of the football intelligence side of things. I think in terms of his athleticism, he's quick, he's physically fit, but he's not strong enough either. So he's another player that has areas where he has to improve. Amad, absolutely, I think has all three. You know, Paul Daly's there, has named Amad, Bayinde, Dorgu, Martinez and Ugarte. Ugarte is an example of someone who has all three. Very physically good, has good football intelligence, makes the right decisions on the ball. And despite what a lot of people said in the narratives that was written, I think he's actually quite press resistant and quite good on the ball. I think he's fantastic at his job. So there are some players there. Yoro is another one of them. I think physically, Yoro is going to be top quality. Technically, I think he's good on the ball, and his football intelligence seems pretty good. He has to develop, obviously, and he's not completely ready, and he's got to keep going through the motions and get better, but he's got the foundations. There is players there that have the foundations, but most players in that footballing squad, you can pick out one area where they don't quite cut it. Even Bruno Fernandes, the captain of his football club, I think technical ability is great. I think his IQ is decent, football intelligence is decent. Sometimes it can be off. But physically, is he the most capable? To be fair, he is like a machine. But his footballing intelligence does lack sometimes with Bruno. Giving the ball away in stupid areas. You know, not playing just a simple 5-yard pass when you're under pressure. Bruno's football intelligence can be questioned. Is that something you can work on? Technically, fantastic. You know, physically, you know, he can run through brick walls for the footballing club. But is his footballing intelligence there all the time? You would say no. So there is a lot of players in this football club that have areas where they need to improve in them situations and in them three things that I talk about. But keep getting your comments in. I'll be really interested to read through them. The false nine football says Ugarte, Bruno, Mazraoui, Garnacho, De Ligt, Ahmad, Yoro, in my opinion. A lot of people say Garnacho. Do you really think Garnacho has footballing intelligence? Like, genuinely? Do you really think he has a high technical ability? If he had a high technical ability, he'd be able to work as an inside 10. He's great in space. He's great when he's running at players. But he misses so many chances. Great technical ability from Garnacho. Really? I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. I think he's a player that stumps the fan base because a lot of us love him. And we've loved what he'd done, and he was thriving under Ten Hag, and he's such a talent, and he's got so much potential, but he doesn't actually fit the way Amorim wants to play moving forward. So a lot of people struggle with it because they want to back Amorim and Amorim's system, but Garnacho isn't really made for Amorim's system. So what do you do with that? What do you do with it? He's quite raw. We've got something coming in here as well, coming in from the MEN, and it's coming from Samuel Luckhurst that Manchester United coaches are losing patience with Rasmus Højlund. Let's have a look at this article. So it's just come out now. Manchester United coaches are losing patience with striker Rasmus Højlund amid his prolonged goal drought. Højlund has not scored in the last 16 games, and one United coaching staff member was particularly scathing of the 22-year-old's performance in the 1-0 defeat at Tottenham 8 days ago. With United 2-0 down at Everton, Højlund was replaced with a 17-year-old Chido Obi making his second appearance for the club. There was a loud cheer from the away end when Højlund went off in the 70th minute from some supporters in attendance, suggesting it was in response for Højlund's removal as much as Obi's introduction. United scored twice within 10 minutes of Højlund's substitution. The reaction was in a stark contrast to the boos that greeted Højlund's substitution on his full debut for United against Brighton in September 2023. United sources maintain staff are encouraging Højlund during the training sessions. And then it just goes on to speak about Højlund's 64 million to 72 million price tag from Atalanta. To be honest with you, I don't think the cheers were for Højlund coming off. I think the cheers were for Chido Obi getting more than 3 minutes and getting an opportunity, and everyone was buzzing to see a youngster come on. I mean, the away fans were chanting for Chido Obi, like he's a youngster coming on in a car crash of a team. He was getting the cheers. It wasn't necessarily a cheers for Højlund being subbed. But also, Højlund's not doing enough. He's not doing enough. The fact he was nearly £72 million at this moment in time looks mind-blowing. I've seen a lot of people absolutely hound the club around Antony's transfer fee and what he's produced. Rightly so. It's been nowhere near good enough, and Antony was a disaster of a transfer. 80 million was ridiculous, and his output was nowhere near what we needed for the price that we paid. But Rasmus Højlund's in a similar situation, I'm going to be honest. We paid up to £72 million for him. What has he produced for us? What has he produced? I look at Antony and I think he scored an important goal in the Europa League against Barca. He scored an important goal in the FA Cup against Liverpool that went on for us winning that FA Cup. You know, he scored against some big teams at least. What's Højlund produced? And he's had probably more game time. Like, you've got to look at these things. Højlund is not producing anywhere near what we need for a number 9 at Manchester United. I think a big part of that is the club handled that transfer wrong. We, time and time again, go and invest big money on young players and just throw them into a team that isn't functioning, isn't ready. Rafael Varane's talked about it. Rafael Varane's recent interview. I think at Real Madrid you have a foundation of winners and leaders and a functioning team where youngsters come in, they get that time, they get that experience around them to embed them in, and it breeds an environment for players to succeed and progress. Manchester United, you buy in a young player, you throw them into a team that is dysfunctional, doesn't create chances, doesn't give you any service, and you're asking too much of a player before they're ready. You're asking for them to be the solution. Whereas at clubs like Real Madrid, at Man City, at Liverpool, you already have the solution. You have a team of 11 players that are already highly functioning, know what they're doing, and can put a young player under their wing and allow them to progress. At United, we've done it with Sancho. You bring them in, you are the answer. £72 million, a massive wage. Go on, go and succeed, go and do it for us. Whereas you've not got the right players around them, you've not got a team that suits their attributes. I mean, from day one, we brought Højlund in and we didn't play to his strengths the way he was as a striker. We tried to play him as a target man, where he's a striker that likes to run in behind and run off the centre-backs, run off the last man. And we've never really catered to him, and we've never, built a team around him for his best chance of success. Also, at the same time, I think there was way too much expectation on him. He should have been a striker coming in with probably 2 strikers ahead of him, with experience ahead of him, and strikers to learn from. Should have even maybe be put on loan. Look at Ahmad. We brought him in from Atalanta. He went on 2 loans to Rangers and Sheffield United. He wasn't ready, and look at him now. He's absolutely thriving. Højlund probably should have had the same treatment, but you can't loan out a £72 million player, really. We overpaid for him massively, and we made the wrong decisions. Shirt weighs heavy. And this is the last thing I wanted to say on the Osimhen stuff. This is coming in from Fabrizio Romano, and for me, we have to get Osimhen in the summer. I know Mark has spoken about it being spin. I know I got a lot of criticism on the show, I did, saying that I think we have a big chance of getting Osimhen, and I think we should get Osimhen, and everyone was saying, spin, spin. Why would Osimhen want to come to us? I get it, things can be spun, and attracting Osimhen with no European football is going to be very difficult. I'm banking on us winning the Europa League, really. But this is coming from Romano. Sources close to the Osimhen story guarantee that all rumours on Manchester United scouts travelling to follow Victor Osimhen's progress at Galatasaray are wide of the mark. As in, they don't even need to check on this kind of player. They really like him, but the financial package will be crucial. We are definitely looking at Osimhen. Ben Jacobs, who I want to get on the show again, said months ago now that he's the dream signing for Manchester United and has been for a long time. They love Osimhen. They scouted him before he even went to Napoli. Manchester United will love to bring Osimhen in. Ruben Amorim has approved the transfer. He would love a player like Victor Osimhen. Physical, poacher, goal scorer, clinical, runs the channels really well, will bully centre-backs, quick, has a track record of being consistent season after season after season. He's a dream signing. We need to go and get him in the summer. When Højlund's crying out for an experienced striker to come in, take a bit of pressure off him and show him the ropes, Osimhen's the guy. When United are crying out to fix the spine of their team, Osimhen is the guy. When United are crying out for an experienced goal scorer that has proof of being consistent, Osimhen is the guy. When United need someone in the front line, I've seen Mark say it, who's going to bollock players for not giving him the football and not giving him the surface, Osimhen's the guy. He's got that bit of arrogance about him. I like that. And the financial package isn't even that bad. Like, it's £63 million release clause. He's on 200 grand a week. United can afford that. I hope. United should be able to afford that for a top striker. What I'm trying to say is, we might not be able to afford it, but that is not a bad financial package for a top striker. And that is what you're bringing in with Osimhen. You're bringing in a ready-made top striker, 27 years old, going into his prime, at experience, ticks every box. 63 million is a bargain. The wage, 200 odd grand a week, you're going to have to pay him. A little bit on the heavy side, but for a player of that quality and experience, and looking at Manchester United's wage structure, it doesn't break the bank. We should be going out for it. We should be going all out for it. Rob Royson says, what soup will he like though? Yeah, Victor Osimhen, you know what, if we don't have the right soup on the menu for you, we can potentially add it in if it doesn't add too much to our ingredient list, because we do have to kind of, we do have a budget. Even the vegetable list has to go through execs at Manchester United and be signed off now because we're on a budget. So Osimhen, if we have the right soup and sandwich for you, come to our football club. Honestly, trying to attract these players. Tech Empire says, Garnacho 17 does not realise what he would be. For me, he is the X-factor player, not in terms of goals, but in terms of chance creation or just creating for himself. He is more Baggio or Neymar than any inside forward. Alejandro Garnacho, there's a reason he misses a lot of big chances, and it's because he gets in positions to get them big chances. Alejandro Garnacho, I have been quite critical of him over recent weeks because I don't think he fits Amorim's system. But he has got potential, and he has got areas to his game that I really like. He makes things happen. He's great off the bench. If you give him a lot of space, he's dangerous. He's got unpredictability about him. He will create you chances, but he's got flaws to his game as well. He is raw. he's not the finished article, but there is a player to work with. Absolutely, there is a player to work with. And if we weren't super tight on cash, I would say we need to keep him in the summer, because I think as a super sub and someone to work with, there is a player there. But we are super tight on cash, and when you're looking for money to bring in, is he going to be a starter? That's the question you've got to ask. Someone's saying that Erik ten Hag quotes are coming out, but I've not seen them come out anywhere. But we have done an hour on the show now, so I am going to wrap up. There's a great Axel Tuanzebe interview coming out as well that we might touch on a future show. But that is the news I've covered for you guys this morning. Thank you everyone for contributing. Make sure you get your comments in. Players you think have them three elements: the physical capability, the technical capability, and the football intelligence. Get them in the comments. Your thoughts on Amorim's tenure so far, what he needs to do, what we need to do in the summer for him. What are your thoughts on even being linked to a different manager? Please get them in the comments as well. Hit a like on the video if you haven't already. Have a fantastic week, everyone. Happy Monday. Let's have a positive week. Hopefully we get a positive result against Ipswich on Wednesday. And I will see you on the next one.